friends, welcome to the Spiritual Weather Report. It is March 1st, 2026. This is Brad, and I'm in South Africa. I'm very happy to be with you today, as always, and what an extraordinary time we're in. Uh, just this morning, when I woke up here in South Africa, I learned that war had broken out with Iran. And it's difficult to speak about it. We're going to talk about it today. Shocking, shattering, horrifying. Uh, I know most of you are feeling as I am, I'm sure. And then also in the past month, we've had this massive collective pivot, I would say, with the extraordinary dump of millions of the Epstein files. It feels like the world has been unmasked, and it's like a storm before the renewal. So we'll talk more about this today. But before we get started, I wanted to welcome everybody who's new to Corelight and also welcome to all of our old friends as well. Whether you're listening live or in the future, it does not matter. We are all in the field of love that exists in the eternal present moment, no matter what linear time you're tuning in. And for those who are new, every month I tune in on what's happening in the collective consciousness, and I'm always shown a few key themes to talk about on these calls. Today we have 7 themes. The first one is the energy of exposure. The second one is the collective awakening. The third is feeling without fleeing. The fourth is diagnosing the pathocracy. The fifth is collapse as catalyst. 6 is processing the law of the jungle versus the rule of law. And lastly, number 7, we are at a choice point. Okay, so again, for anybody who's new, I start these podcasts by offering a guided meditation, and then I speak about the prevailing energies that are affecting us, and also about the spiritual principles that are most helpful for us right now. And then we'll have time for questions and answers. And we'll close the session with a brief guided meditation or prayer. And if you need to leave before the call ends, you can always listen to the recording later on our free resources page at corelight.org. We do send the link out to our email list, and it's also posted on YouTube. Before we get started today, just a few little updates, housekeeping items. There's still a few spaces available for the South Africa retreat in May 2026. It's May 14th through 27th, and that is for our English speaking group. The Brazil retreat in April is almost full as well. If you want to know more about it, you can check out our events page at corelight.org. They're truly extraordinary retreats. It's impossible to explain them. I've had friends come and visit me recently, several friends over the last couple of months, and they're always just sort of shaking their heads, thinking, like saying, you can't really explain the magic of this place. To be with the land here, the power of the Blyder River Canyon, the third largest canyon in the world, to be with the African animals, to go out into the rural villages here and meet the African people, and to be with the majestic white lions of Timbavati. It's just sort of beyond the beyond. There's really no way to explain what happens on these trips, but they're life-changing. They are massively transformative. So if you feel called to join me, I'd love to have you here. Please meditate on it and see if it's calling you. And I would invite you to not say no just because of the cost, to meditate on it. And if you feel it's for you, then the money always arrives. It's part of the manifestation process. So if it calls to you, please come and join me. I think I'm going to skip the rest of the announcements. We have a lot to cover today. I think I will mention I'm going to be offering in-person events in the US later this year. If you'd like me to come to your area, please reach out and let me know what you might have in mind. We can talk about the possibilities. My email address is brad@corelight.org. I have been invited to come to a few US cities already, so the schedule is filling up. We'll probably start in August, I think, and we'll go through October. So I will look forward to seeing some of you in the US later this year. So let's begin without further ado. Let's start our guided meditation. I invite you to relax and get comfortable and close your eyes and take a few long, slow, deep breaths, breathing in the light, breathing out any tension in your body, breathing in deep peace, and breathing out the shadow. Breathing in the present moment and exhaling any concerns about the past or the future. Just being right here, right now, with nowhere to go and nothing to do. Just giving yourself over to your spiritual journey, being in the field of love with me and our worldwide community. I wish we were in the same room and you could get to know each other. I know many of you, and I'm sorry that you don't know each other. So let's just use our capacity of feeling to feel everyone's heart, feel this field of love. And again, it doesn't matter whether you're listening in real time or in the future, we are all in the field of love in the eternal present moment. So just feel the heart-centeredness of all the wonderful people. There's usually several hundred people attending these calls if you include who's listening live and who's listening or watching in the future. So it's hundreds of souls across the globe. I invite you now to open your hearts and just feel, receive. It's a beautiful, beautiful opportunity to receive the healing energy that comes through on these calls. Just relaxing and breathing and letting go. Long and slow and deep breaths. We sometimes forget that the relaxation of the physical body is the foundation for the enlightening of our consciousness. And breathing is a very important part of that. Long and slow and deep breaths. Let's do a few long, slow, deep breaths while counting. I invite you to count to 6 on the inhale, and on the exhale, count to 9. When we exhale longer than the inhale, there's a deeper relaxation that takes place in the body. It activates the parasympathetic nervous system. Let's do a couple more of those. Count to 6 on the inhale and count to 9 on the exhale. And now I invite you to, as you continue to breathe, put your awareness on the core. The core is like a luminous tube of light that runs down the center of your body from the top of your head to the base of the spine, and it's like a fluorescent tube that sits right in front of the spine. This is the core of enlightenment within each one of us. Just feel it. It's okay if you're not able to feel it or see it, but I invite you to put your awareness there and just give it a try to feel that core. Visualize it. Sense it. This is your still center. While the world spins around you, sometimes it feels like an emotional hurricane or a whirlwind. These words reflect the spinning of the world, but when we remain connected to our core in our still point, that's when we remember who we truly are. We are the witness self, the pure awareness, the pure consciousness, pure love. All of our thoughts and emotions, states of mind, they all pass through us. But we remain as this still point, as the core of enlightenment, or the soul consciousness, whatever you want to call it. But it's our connection to our soul, connection to the higher self, the witness self. So I invite you to just be with that, feel that, and relax into it. Continue the breathing. Breathing is very helpful. We're going to talk today about some pretty intense subjects. So this witness self is important. Important to remember. Remember who we truly are. We are the objective observer, the witness, the part of us that remembers that we are pure awareness and that the thoughts and emotions pass through us. But we remain. I invite you to also, at the root chakra, at the base of the spine, drop your grounding cord down into the earth. It's essentially extending the core all the way down into the earth. We call it the grounding cord, but it's really an aspect of the core energy within us. So drop your grounding cord down into the earth, all the way down to the center of the earth. Connect your grounding cord with the center of the earth. Wrap it around the core of the earth and feel how anchoring that is. Feel how grounding that is. And then commingle your energy with the earth's energy there and draw it back up into your body. You can draw it up your grounding cord. You can draw it up through the soles of your feet, up your legs, all the way up your body. Just feeling how grounded, connected you are to the earth. Our physical bodies are made of the earth, so of course we are connected to Gaia herself. I invite you also now to open your crown chakra. If you're not familiar with the crown, it sits on the top of your head like a crown that a king or a queen would wear. And extend your core out the top of your head, all the way out into formless space. And connect with your source of universal energy, whatever that might look like for you. Might look like your soul, your higher self, or a star, or a group of angelic beings, or a spiral galaxy. Doesn't matter. Just connect with whatever source of universal energy is yours, your soul energy. And I invite you to draw that energy back down into your body through the top of your head, feeling your crown chakra unfurling on top of your head like a thousand-petaled lotus, which is also how it's known. Feel it opening up wide to receive these beautiful celestial energies. Draw them into your body, filling yourself up. And now I invite you to feel yourself filling up from above and below simultaneously, filling up with earth energy and celestial energy. Divine Mother Earth and divine celestial energy, Father Sky, as some people call it. As you do this, I'm going to say a little prayer and an invocation for our call today. Great Spirit, Divine Mother, Father God, the self that we all are, we invite into this sacred space all of our highest guides, teachers, angels, all the beings who surround us in the highest love and support. We ask that you please surround us in a cocoon of golden white love and light and healing energy. Guide our conversation into the highest love and wisdom. Hold our hands as we navigate these times of great change. We send a special blessing out from our hearts. I invite you to do this now with me. Just send a special blessing out to Mother Earth herself and all the places on Earth where there is suffering, especially places affected by war. I'm not going to name them all. There are many now, sadly. Places that are affected by pollution, illness, poverty, lack of any kind, violence of any kind. Blessings and blessings and blessings go out to all, including the natural world, the whole of the natural world. Humans are part of the natural world, not separate from it. So all humans and all aspects of the natural world. And we give thanks for this opportunity. Thanks for this opportunity to share our hearts today. And whether you're listening in the or watching in the future or present time, as I said, we are all connected in the field of love in the eternal present moment. And we're so, so deeply grateful for this opportunity to be incarnate at this extraordinary time on earth, the pivoting of the ages, as we midwife this new paradigm of the heart that is birthing, even though it looks like it at times that it's not birthing, but it is. We're going to talk about that today. So I invite you now to bring your awareness back into the room and into your body. Alalaho. Isn't it wonderful? Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And I invite you to wiggle your fingers and toes and begin to open your eyes when you feel ready. Well, thank you, everybody. I just really, really look forward to these meditations we do together, to the calls as well. But there's something about the meditations that are just so beautiful to relax into that field of love and that deep peace with you. Thank you for showing up. Thank you. I want to start today with some quotes. I wrote them down. I'm going to read them to you. The first one is from Thich Nhat Hanh. This, my dear, is the greatest challenge to being alive, to witness injustice in the world, cruelty and violence, and not allow it to consume our light. I have a couple of quotes from JFK, John F. Kennedy. Mankind must put an end to war, or war will put an end to mankind. We must learn to wage peace as effectively as we now wage war. And there's another one by him. Our problems are man-made. Therefore, they can be solved by man. For in the final analysis, our most basic common link is that we all inhabit this small planet. We all breathe the same air. We all cherish our children's future. We are all mortal. The last quote for today is by Gandhi. When I despair, I remember that all through history, the way of truth and love have always won. There have been tyrants and murderers, and for a time, they can seem invincible, but in the end, they always fail. Think of it, always. So before I begin the topics of today, I thought I should speak just a little bit more about witnessing because we're going to want to tap into our witnesses today. I spoke a little bit about it just now in the guided meditation. So if you're listening later and jumping through to the timestamps, I invite you to go back and listen to the guided meditation. Um, the witnessing practice is about remembering who we truly are, remembering that we are not our bodies, not our thoughts, not our emotions, remembering that this world is temporary. It's an illusion, not permanent. And when I woke up this morning, I had prayed before I went to bed about what to speak about today. And I woke up at like 3:30 in the morning, and I saw the cover of a book in my head, and it said, "You are an illusion." So I thought I needed to write that down. I thought, okay, it's important that I give that reminder today that we are living in a dream world. This is what all the ancient yogis have said. This is what quantum physics, modern quantum physics, is telling us. The physical reality is actually 99 point whatever percent space. So, this solid desk seems so real, and yet it's 99 point whatever percent space. So how can that be? It really it makes our mind shift, and realize that this is a really amazingly real illusion that we're living in. It's like the holodeck of the Starship Enterprise on Star Trek. It seems so real, and it seems so real, not surreal, but it is surreal. It's beyond the real. It's a dream. And this is what all the enlightened masters through the ages have said. At last month, I spoke a little bit about it. I let you know that I had a near-death experience in January. I won't retell it here, but when I left my body through this little experience, this accident I had, um, I was reminded of just how this world is an illusion, that I saw it as pixels. It was a little bit like the Matrix. I saw it as not ones and zeros and the little lines of digits, but I saw it as pixels. And when I went into the world of light, I remembered, oh, well, yeah, this is who I am. I'm the light. I'm the pure awareness, pure consciousness. And then I started thinking, well, wait a minute, why am I here? I want to be back in my body. So I was willing myself back into my body and was just so, so grateful when I got back into my body and took my first breath, feeling that air pouring through my nostrils. And I felt so much more incredibly grateful for this body, this opportunity to be incarnate in a physical body at this extraordinary time. But I guess to add to that is that I saw just how easy it was to die. It's so easy to die. It's so easy just to let go. And once you let go of the body, none of the dramas, none of the issues really matter at all. We let go of them very easily at that point. And to add that just because that's true, just because we're living in a dream world, it does not mean that we don't have to take it seriously. It doesn't mean that we can, ignore our lessons. We come here to live and learn and to have experiences, have our lessons, and so I guess to come back to the point is that practicing the witnessing, practicing remembering who we truly are, really helps us to take this world less seriously. We remember the truth of who we are, but we live it with much more uh, of an understanding of what it truly is. That even though it's an illusion, it's also real in its way. And that allows us to maybe have a little bit of a lighter sense of it, to have more, let's say, curiosity, maybe to feel more gratitude, to feel more joy, even when we're experiencing challenges and going through times of great change like we are right now. So anyway, I remind you of that. I know everybody probably is aware of all that already, but I just feel like we need to begin this particular call with that reminder. The first, I'm getting my notes out here. The first theme is the energy of exposure. So we're living in a time of the systems cracking open, and that's personally, politically, spiritually, you name it. Um, the mask is falling away at many, many levels. And when that happens, the truth gets revealed. And when that happens, I think it's very important for us to remember that nothing gets ruined. Nothing's terribly wrong. There's a perfection to it. It's just that we get to see what was always there and what's real and the truth behind the mask. Uh, Two major things have happened in the past month, as I was speaking about in the beginning of the call. The first one is this massive dump of files, the 3 million plus files from the Epstein files. And then just in the last 24 hours, the United States and Israel have started bombing Iran. And I guess I just wonder. I wonder how many of you are following all this. Are you tracking? I would imagine so. I know we're all very concerned about the state of the world, and yet there are times where it's good to just not really pay attention to what's going on. So I've tried to fill myself in on the basics of what's happening. I've been doing some digging into the whole Epstein file thing, so I'm going to talk about that today. The names of so many leaders have been revealed in those documents who were involved with him, including respected spiritual leaders. There's a lot of information about human trafficking coming out that is horrifying, and pedophilia and the torture of children. It's absolutely shocking, absolutely horrifying. Um, so I'm sorry. I'm going to bring this up today in a way that allows us to grow, that allows us to shine a light on the shadow so that we can heal. And that's the purpose of this. I don't bring it up for any other reason than it's what we're being asked to do, you know. And then also with the war, I try not to focus too much on these things because we get enough of it in daily life. But um, it just feels very important to acknowledge what's happening and how um, both of these things are really coming from the same source, that they have the same root, and it's all about power and control and money. So we're going to be talking about that today. And I guess my first question for you is, how does all this make you feel? And I invite you to, as you feel into it, to bring your witness in, just to bring that witness self, and you can put your energy in the core, as I did with you on the guided meditation, or you can put your energy in your heart. That also helps. But I invite you throughout this call as we shine a light on the shadow, which is so important for our awakening and the healing of the earth, to really remember your witness, just to keep bringing it back to your heart center and to your core. I feel it's important for me to share a little bit about my own journey, what I've been feeling, also, what I perceive in the collective. Um, some of you have written to me. I'm hearing from a number of people how you're feeling, what's going on. But I think as I speak, I'm probably not going to distinguish between any of it. I'm just going to speak because it'll be my own journey. your journey, what I'm feeling in the collective, and so forth. So I've already mentioned a few things. There's obviously the shock and the shattering. That's right at the top. Those are the first things to happen is shock and shattering. And I have to say, none of this was new to me. None. And yet there's still a shock and a shattering to see it happening, to see the Epstein files in black and white, to read about it, and now to see this war unfolding in real time. It's horrifying, absolutely horrifying. And there's kind of a new level of disillusionment with the state of the world that has arisen. So there's a sense of betrayal, especially I would say collectively. Um, I just want to slow down for a minute because I feel like I need to explain some of this. So when I say none of this was new to me, what I mean is that if you remember back in 2001, after 9/11, General Wesley Clark, if you're too young for this, forgive me, I'll just give you a little update, a little history here. General Wesley Clark came out and said after 9/11, he was shocked. He'd been to the Pentagon and he said he discovered that the powers that be were planning to wage a war with and conquer seven different countries. And they named the seven countries. The last one on the list is Iran. So here we are 25 years later, and this is the last one on the list. So, in a way, like I said, I'm shocked but not surprised, let's say. And if you've been listening to these weather reports at all, you know that I tend to dig into the shadow. And so I have been tracking the whole Epstein thing. And so it's not new information for me, but again, like I said, yet seeing it, having it be revealed in black and white, it's shocking but not surprising. The other thing, I guess, that I realize is that the current U.S. president was elected on a peace platform. So I think a lot of people, whether you like him or not, I know the country's everyone's very divided on that. He's either a saint or the devil, saint or Satan, and it doesn't matter who you are, how you perceive him, but he did run on a platform of peace, and this is not what's happening. So I think a lot of people feel very betrayed about that. And I need to preface everything I say today. If you're new to these weather reports, I never, ever, ever take a side politically. It's not about a political party. It's one or the other. It's not about a political candidate or even a country. You know, there's so much evidence to suggest that, there's corruption at every level, no matter what country you're from. There's shadow everywhere. There might be different political parties and different candidates, but it seems like they're all being, they're all puppets of the same puppet master. That's how it seems anyway. And there's quite a bit of evidence to support that idea. But that's not what I'm here to talk about. I'm saying this because I don't want anybody to think that I'm picking a side. I see beyond that, and that's not what these calls are about. Yeah, so as I was saying before, both of these things that have happened, the wars, I say wars plural because as we know, the month before it was Venezuela and it's anyway, am not going to go into all of it, but you know what I'm talking about. The Epstein files, the Epstein drama and the wars, they're essentially the same thing. They're all about power control and money. And I would call it the law of the jungle. It's about domination. It's about might makes right. It's about doing whatever you want if you can get away with it. And it reminded me of an old movie, I think from the 80s or 90s. It was called The Fly, and it was a remake of a 1950s movie, science fiction movie. And the lead actor goes through I think it's a time machine. He's meant to go into the future, and accidentally there's a fly in the chamber with him. And so he merges with this fly and he starts becoming a fly. And when he's got his wings and he's flying around and he meets up with a human, and he's talking to them about what it's like to be a fly. And he's talking about the politics of the insect kingdom. And he says, do you know what the politics of the insect kingdom are? And the person says, no. And he says, there are no politics in the insect kingdom. So this is, I feel, what's happening right now reminded me of that line. Um, because it's the law of the jungle. It's like might makes right, whatever you can get away with. Uh, that's where we are. It seems like that's where we are right now. The rule of international law is gone. Um, so I guess the other thing I want to say about this is that we are at the end of a very long era known as the system of separation or the system of patriarchy, the age of patriarchy, whatever you want to call it. And for any phase, for any cycle to culminate, it has to come to its logical conclusion. It's true for us personally as well as for the collective. We've got to be able to see a lesson or a cycle play itself out completely. And it's only then when we see it in all its horror and all its glory, seeing its shadowy underbelly. Only when all of that is revealed do we get to complete. And it's all about witnessing all of that and coming back to this place that I've been talking about, remembering who we truly are. We are the pure awareness, pure consciousness, pure love. And so our job right now is to come back to that practice of witnessing, to hold the light during a time of enormous change and where the shadow is being flushed up and the light is getting shined on the shadow. We are the midwives. We're the midwives of this new paradigm of the heart, we like to call it. We are the healers. And as I say often on these calls, we knew before we incarnated what was coming. We knew we were getting into. No accidents. Uh, this was not going to be easy, and we knew it. So here we are. We're in the thick of it, and just I want you to know I'm with you, and I'm just reminding everybody it's so much about the practice of witnessing. And I say practice because that's important to remember. It is a practice. There's no way to do it perfectly other than to just continually practice as best as we're able. Okay, I'm going to move on to the next subject, which is the collective awakening. So, the collective path of awakening is the same as an individual's path of awakening, and that's because a collective is just a group of individuals. So, it makes perfect logical sense that it would be that way. And the way it works, as we all know, anybody who's on their conscious spiritual path, we know that it begins with a wake-up call, usually. So that's a shock or a shattering of some kind. Something unexpected happens, a loss, a betrayal, an illness, whatever it is. And then suddenly, the old story that we lived by doesn't fit anymore. And that's what's happening to humanity right now. We're in the collective version of that. And all of us together, we are looking into the same cracked mirror. And the cracks are showing us the things that we really have tried not to see, to some degree at least. We can all admit that, I'm sure. The truth about our systems, our leaders, even our own denials about ourselves, all this Epstein stuff, the wars, the old familiar way of the world, it's all falling apart. It's all part of one big pattern that is coming to closure. And so the point of this kind of collapse is not just about shaking things up. It's really that we're ready to make the unconscious conscious. That's the premise of the conscious spiritual path is that we're making the unconscious conscious. We're ready to see what was hidden. We're turning on a light in a dark room, and that is the path of healing. It is messy. It's luminous. It's bright. It's uncomfortable. It's very real and raw at times, and that's where we are. So this is our awakening. It's discovering who we truly are. And the principle behind all of this path of making the unconscious conscious, is that we can only go as high as we're willing to go low. We're, we can only go as high as we're willing to go low. That's an old, it was Sri Aurobindo. Many people have said it over the millennia, but Sri Aurobindo said it in some of his books. He's an Indian saint who lived in the late 1800s, early 1900s. Um, So Leslie used to like to, that was her refrain, when it seems like the shadow is dark and you're feeling the pain, you're feeling the discomfort, just remember that it's okay, because it means that we're digging out the basement and it's going to allow us to ascend to the heights. So I invite everybody to just remember that, if you're really feeling challenged right now, just to remember that part. And so we've called it the new paradigm of the heart that the collective is awakening into. It's got many different names. People call it different things. We like to call it the new paradigm of the heart, because it's essentially that we're moving as a collective and as individuals into heart-centered consciousness. And that means unconditional love, forgiveness, gratitude, uh, peace, um, joy, all these qualities of the heart. It becomes the foundation of our lives. All those higher qualities, generosity, compassion, all the heart-centered states. And I know at times it doesn't seem like this birthing of the new paradigm of the heart is happening. It really seems like we're dying. But that's just how it works. When a death happens, when one door closes, another one always opens, and there's always our next step. Something better for us is waiting on the other side of that open door. The next subject, feeling without fleeing. So I think the invitation that we're all getting right now is to practice witnessing and feeling whatever we need to feel, not to try to skip the part where it hurts. So whatever we're feeling, grief, anger, confusion, fear, all of that belongs to this process. We cannot heal what we're not able to face. That's the premise. And so I think it's important as well to remember not to blame, not to indulge in blame. So, I mean, by blaming one particular country or a particular leader or a particular political party. Even though that's so easy to do, we're invited to do that all the time through the media, to pick a side and blame the other side. And sometimes it feels so good to do that, but this is our if we want to awaken, this is the practice, is to remember not to do that, to come back to, we call it, I call it holding the tension between the two sides of any polarity, practicing neither believing nor disbelieving. These are our regular practices that we need to be doing these days. So yeah, not about picking teams. Um, that's an old pattern we need to let go of. Um, and the metaphor that I like to use is thinking of it as composting old consciousness so that something new can grow. I think that's a powerful metaphor. And that's the journey. We're talking about witnessing. We're talking about feeling what we need to feel. We're talking about my experience of this path is that it's critical to give the heart its due. In other words, whatever you're feeling, just allow that. This is part of making the unconscious conscious, allowing ourselves to feel what's inside. And often it's unconscious stuff that starts coming out. Also, I would say remembering that we're not victims in this. That's very, very important part of the journey. Remembering to look for the gift and the opportunity in any situation. And that takes us right out of the victim consciousness if we can find the gift and the opportunity. And lastly, it's so much about surrendering. It's so much about learning to be okay with whatever is arising. There's a wonderful, wonderful book out there if you haven't had a chance to read it yet. It's called The Surrender Experiment by Michael Singer. It's the best book on surrendering I've ever read. And if you haven't had a chance to read that book, now is a really good time. Very, very helpful in difficult times to surrender, meaning that we're not the victim. There's an opportunity here, and we need to practice our witnessing and walk through that doorway. The next theme, diagnosing the pathocracy. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about what's breaking down. And before I go there, I think I need to share something I've shared in a recent weather report, and it's about a practice I have. It's a book practice. I read a book of light, and then I read a book of shadow, and then I alternate another book of light and a book of shadow. And why do I do that? People ask. And it's because it helps me. It's a choice. It helps me to not look away, but rather to try to understand what's happening. So I'm choosing to understand by diving into some of these books that are naming the shadow, let's say, exploring what's really going on in this dream world that we're living in. Um, I've already talked about this on previous reports, but one of the books I read many months ago, it was last year sometime, I read One Nation Under Blackmail: The Sordid Union Between Intelligence and Crime That Gave Rise to Jeffrey Epstein. I bring it up now because, as you can hear from the subtitle, it relates directly to what we're experiencing now. And the summary of that book is essentially what's in the title. It's that over the last 150 or more years, there's been this merger, this merging of the organized crime and the intelligence organizations, the intelligence agencies around the world, um, and how that gave rise to Jeffrey Epstein, in that it's a lot about sexual blackmail. I won't go into the details. That's not why we're here. Um, but if that interests you, if you want to do this work that I'm describing, that's a good one to start with. It's essentially a history book. It's not telling you what to believe. It's just providing a lot of facts and historical events. The books of light that I've been interspersing between all the shadow books, I've almost finished with a series called the first one is called Breakfast with Buddha. The second one is Lunch with Buddha. The third is Dinner with Buddha, and the fourth is Dessert with Buddha. And I'm on the fourth one right now. And I had a couple of friends recommend that to me. So thank you if that was you. Thank you for recommending the book series to me. It's just so beautiful, uplifting. Uh, I'm on a shadow book right now, and I haven't started it yet, but I wanted to tell you a little bit about it. It's called Political Ponerology, and gosh, I meant to have it here so I can share the subtitle with you. I'm sorry, I don't have that, but it was written by a psychologist who I can't pronounce his last name, but it's Andrew Lobachevsky, I think. It was written during the Cold War long ago when he lived in Poland under communist rule. And he wrote it with a number of other professionals. They were doctors and psychologists and so forth of various kinds, researchers. And it got suppressed by the government and never saw the light of day. And so later on, after I guess after they escaped or after the Cold War was over, they wrote it again and it got suppressed again. It's about uh, the study. It's the study of systems that let power fall into the hands of people with no empathy. It's basically a study of, you could call it a study of evil. Um, what happened was they actually, it kept getting suppressed, but then this one guy wrote it all again later from memory. and it got actually got published. It's hard to find. It's hard to find online right now, but um, he calls the system we're living in a pathocracy. It's a system that rewards psychopaths and sociopaths, and how that gives rise to totalitarianism. And I've been talking for years about how we can all see the slow creep across the planet, the tiptoe towards totalitarianism, um, all across the globe, not just one country, but everywhere. And it's not going to succeed. I know that. But it's important to name it and look at what it is, because it's a system. We've been living inside this system that is moving in that direction. We see it in government, we see it in business, we see it in the media. This slow march towards totalitarianism. It's been happening for such a long time. And I think, many Europeans, many Americans, we always thought it could never happen. It could never happen in the US. It could never happen again in Europe after the fall of Nazi Germany. And so I feel like it's important to name this, to realize that here we are. We've got this unfolding all around us now. Um, and I don't want to go in depth into this. I think just naming it is important. I think it's important to also name that Epstein is not the disease, he's a symptom. And because of that, it's proof that our collective immune system has been asleep. But here's the thing. Our immune system is waking up now. The conscience of humanity, the part of us that feels, is starting to kick back in. And this is the collective immune system is what's going to heal us. I think let's move on to the next topic. I think that's enough on that. The next topic is collapse as catalyst. So the system of separation is ending not because it failed, but because we've outgrown that old story. And it is how it was always meant to be. There's a perfection, as I said before, to what's unfolding, and we knew it was going to be this way before we incarnated, and so that's just what's happening. The patriarchy, the money, the power, the technology, all of it is showing its true face so that we can finally learn what it was here to teach us. And like I said before, it has to play out fully. It has to complete in order for it to reach its logical conclusion. And we have to be able to see it in all of its glory and its horror in order to fully get the lessons so that we can move on into the new paradigm of the heart. And I know for a lot of people, it feels like the medicine is working faster than the body can handle it. And so it hurts, it's painful, but it's also important to remember the perfection of it. And I would say the holiness of it. So we're entering into a period of the unknown, a period of instability. And with that comes uncertainty and formlessness. And those things are very scary because the ego is synonymous with control. And it wants to know, it wants to have the form, the knowing, the control, the certainty. So uncertainty is scary, but what it really means is that we're right up against the edge of the ego. The walls of the ego are made of fear, the vibration of fear. So when we're pushing our boundaries, when we're moving beyond our current ego, the current form of the ego, we're going to pass through those walls. So naturally, we're going to feel the vibration of fear as we expand beyond the walls that are confining us in the current forms that we're in, the current form of personal ego or collective ego. And the metaphor that I've been thinking about is it's a seed. And a seed does not know it's becoming a tree when it cracks open. It just cracks. And it hurts and it's painful when we crack. But just to remember that that is the beginning of life, it's not the end. So I love that metaphor. I've been holding on to it lately. The cracking open of the seed. So if that's happening to you, if you're feeling shocked and shattered, I invite you to just hold on to that metaphor. The next theme, and I'm going to read this one to you because I wrote it down. I got a very clear insight that we should do a square together on the call today. And if you are not familiar with squares, squares are a simple journaling practice that you can do in the privacy of your own home. I think most people listening, watching know what it is. So forgive me, I'm just going to give a quick little tutorial on squares. It's a practice that my spouse Leslie's guides gave to her. Leslie is clairaudient. She hears her spiritual guides telepathically. And long ago in the 1980s, they gave her this technique, or excuse me, early 90s, they gave her this technique called squares. They're radically transformative, life-changing, but simple. And we do explain how to do it in our book, The Marriage of Spirit. And so if you want to learn more about it, you can go to our website, corelight.org, and find the book at the store, or it's on Amazon, or any bookseller will have it. The Marriage of Spirit. And so the square is what you do is you take any polarity and then you break the polarity out into four corners. You've got the square we're going to do today is the law of the jungle versus the rule of law. It seems very apropos. And I did it myself quickly. I'm going to give it to you quickly. We're not going to go in depth into it. You can take a lot of time with this. If you want to do more for home practice, you can. But the way it works is it's easiest just to dive in and do it. So we'll just do that. But the essence of it is that you're taking one side of the polarity, for example, the law of the jungle, and you're breaking it out into its two components. One is the desire for it, and one is the fear of it. The desire is the attraction, the pulling towards, and the fear is the pushing away. So the desire for the law of jungle and the law of the jungle and the fear of the law of the jungle. Then you do the same for the opposite, the rule of law. You'd have the desire for the rule of law and the fear of the rule of law. And all we're doing here is creating an inventory of the ego. We're naming anything that we might feel for that corner. So let's just dive in and we'll start doing it and you'll get the hang of it if you've never done it. So the first corner is the desire for the law of the jungle. There's usually at least one corner, sometimes two or more, that are somewhat or completely unconscious. And that is the main purpose of the square is to help make the unconscious conscious in the ego. That's how we awaken, is making the unconscious conscious, as I said. Um, so we're gonna detail out the desire for the law of the jungle, and you might not be able to think of anything because it might be completely unconscious for you. You know, you might say, "Well, I don't desire the law of the jungle," in which case you put yourself in the shoes of somebody who would desire the law of the jungle, and that's what I've done here. I've made a little list, just a few bullets of why somebody might want the law of the jungle. And you could maybe name your favorite politician, your, your favorite dictator. Okay, so the desire for the law of the jungle, the first thing I wrote is to be the strong man in charge. I can have all the power and money and control. I can do whatever I want. I can be the dictator. To be one of the elites. If I can get away with it, then why not? Especially if you let me get away with it, then why not? That means that you are inferior and stupid, and I am superior and smart. All right. As I said, for the sake of time, we're going to move on. You can do more for home practice if you feel so moved. The more you write in the corner, the bigger the breakthrough. The second corner is the fear of the law of the jungle. Might makes right. Chaos, violence, lack of empathy, living in a slave system. If I'm in charge, then I would fear bad karma. I would fear the rebellion of the masses, fearing mobs with torches and pitchforks and a guillotine. Ah. The next corner, the desire for the rule of law, order, fairness, civility, peace, freedom, the pursuit of happiness. It supports our evolution. And again, for the sake of time, we'll stop there and move on. Those are just some ideas to start you off with. If you want to do more for home practice, you can. The last corner, the fear of the rule of law. And again, this might be a more unconscious corner for some people, but I went ahead and wrote some things down that I could think of. Laws can become a mask for control. When law is captured by power, it serves the powerful, and justice becomes optional. Number three, when not applied with humanity, law can have a lack of compassion and morality. It seems like narcissists, psychopaths, and sociopaths have risen to power anyway, despite our legal system. It seems like the laws are being used by a power elite to control, censor, surveil, and enslave the rest of humanity. You can have all the laws you want, but if the consciousness of the people is not aligned and in integrity, you still have a broken system. Everything in this world is an inside job. So why do we need external laws? Rather, let's clear the shadow inside and find inner peace, which will then reflect out into the world. I'm going to call it quits there. We could do a lot more, but as I said, you can do more for home practice if you like. Um, another practice, another exercise that we offer in the same book, The Marriage of Spirit, is the triangle process. And the way a triangle works, again, it's a little journaling practice, super simple but so powerful. I love triangles. And we have what you do is in your journal, you draw a triangle, you put the polarity on the bottom two corners of the baseline, and at the apex, we call it the ascended balance. And you try to think of a word or a phrase that ascends and balances the polarity you're working with. So tell me, I'm going to ask you right now, what do you think would go at the top of this triangle if you put the polarity at the bottom of the law of the jungle versus the rule of law? What goes up, what ascends and balances that polarity, brings it up into higher consciousness, especially into the heart? What would you write down? And I'm going to give you a moment to think about it. I'll share with you what I wrote. And there are no rules. There's nothing right or wrong about any of this. You can put whatever you want. I wrote the new paradigm of the heart. You know, when I say the new paradigm of the heart, what that means to me is it's a lot about returning to the laws of nature. So returning to the laws of nature would be one of the ascended balance states we could put up there. It's seeing and knowing that we're not separate. And I was with a friend recently who was saying it's a little bit like seeing humanity as a mycelial network, where everything's connected. Or I'm sure you know that trees in a forest, all the roots are connected. Um, I also think of it here in South Africa, the Zulus have a word called Ubuntu, and it means I am because you are loosely translated. It's the highest form of community or tribalism, which is saying, I'm only as strong as the weakest link in the chain. So therefore, if there's a weak link in the chain, I have to support that and make it stronger. I've got to help the sick person become healed. I've got to uplift the poor person so we can all be strong as a community. That's Ubuntu. Um, and I looked up something I want to read to you here. I remembered reading once upon a time that there were Native American tribes who had no laws. They had no written laws, and yet they were peaceful peoples. Um, and so I looked up, and I'm going to read to you what I found. Early anthropologists wrote about tribes like the Hopi and the Old Cheyenne, who had no written laws or prisons. Yet they lived peacefully for generations because spiritual harmony and shared responsibility were their law. Harmony with nature was seen as sacred law. Peace did not need external enforcement. So I share all that with you because for me, those are that's where we're heading towards. That is the new paradigm of the heart, to return to the laws of nature, return to that peaceful way of living. So I hope that's helpful. You might have come up with your own ascended balance word or words or phrases. So I just want to summarize before we move on. Um, in fact, I wrote it down. I'm just going to read to you what I wrote here. People don't fear justice. They fear a system that calls itself justice while acting as domination. When law is transparent, humane, and accountable, it earns trust. When it becomes opaque, mechanical, or weaponized, even good people start to hide from it, not because they love chaos, but because they love freedom. So now I invite you to take a breath, call in the witness self, the objective observer, and just breathe in and remember who you truly are. You are pure awareness, pure consciousness. And if shadow has been stirred up, allow it to pass through you and leave. When we do these squares, we make an offering. We give it back to spirit. We give it back to the oneness, and we call in healing and balance, and we call in the ascended balance states. So we're going to do that at the end of the call. We're not going to do it right now. I would like to wrap up for the day before we make our offering. But I invite you now to just stay with that witness self because we really did stir up some shadow today, but we're coming out of it now. We're gonna close here. So I was in an email dialogue with an old friend recently, and she reminded me. Here, I'm going to read to you what she wrote to me, and I thought this was apropos for today, so I'm going to share it with you. In the late 1990s, Leslie said to us that there would be a split in timelines, a choice point between a path of love and a path of fear. Those who are on the path of love would become invisible to those on the path of fear. In this process, some relationships would fall away. It seems to me this has been an ongoing choice point for each of us. At the same time, Leslie was attempting to wake Americans up to the energies that were coming. She reminded people, I was born in South Africa and I experienced apartheid, so I know these energies. So Leslie was the one who was telling me in the 90s that our the powers that were, or the powers that be, whatever you want to call them, did not have our highest interests in mind. They were doing things that were not to our benefit. And I didn't believe her. And I said, well, wait a minute, sweetheart, this is America. That doesn't happen here. We're the land of the free, the home of the brave. And we're a free country. It's not like South Africa. And I thought, oh, poor Leslie, she was so deeply traumatized by apartheid that she's, seeing it everywhere. And then over time, I slowly realized, like, oh my goodness, she is beyond correct. Like this, things have played out in a way, this slow march towards totalitarianism, and we've seen where this is going. So I came to really understand what she was saying. And what she always talked about was her wiring was attuned. And she was so sensitive that she could feel. She said during apartheid, every year there would be a little, just a new law or something new that happened that was just inching their way towards more control and more totalitarianism. And over 50 years of apartheid, it turned into a police state that was the most racist and restrictive police state ever known in the world. And, I'm not pointing fingers because, every country has its problems, especially America. But that was her experience. And she said, I'm so sensitive, I'm so attuned, I'm telling you, it's happening here. And so I also started becoming sensitized to that. And I have been feeling it happening for the past 30 whatever years since we talked about it, since Leslie and I talked about it. So I wonder if you are too. I wonder if you're aware of this. I wonder if you're sensitized to it. It's like a little nudging, a little tiptoeing process. Rarely is it a big thing. But I think what's happening right now is a big thing. I think the wars and the Epstein files, these are big things, and we're able to really see very clearly. It's like it's not being hidden anymore. It's out in the open. So I feel like this is part of what we're here for. We're here to see now. We're here to really see exactly what's been going on, and more truth will be coming out. I've been talking about this for a few years now, of saying the truth is going to be coming out more and more and more. And that is the awakening process. We're coming full circle with our call because it's how I started talking about uh, shining a light on the shadow, making the unconscious conscious. That is the path of awakening. And so that is what's happening right now. I think we can all feel it in the tone of the world. Um, and what Leslie was talking about, the choice between love and fear is the key. It's a constant choice we're faced with. It's a pull between um, panic and being present. And so love and fear can't live in the same room anymore. We have to pick one. And love, real love, is not pretending that everything's fine. It is, yes, staying soft, being vulnerable, being in our yin side, but also truthful when things are not fine and feeling what we need to feel. So it's choosing openness over control. It's choosing honesty over comfort. Um, and I think also to close, just to remember what I've been talking about throughout this call is that this is a practice. Choosing the witnessing is a practice, and also now choosing love over fear is a practice. So it's important not to get down on ourselves when we maybe stumble and forget. The practice of choosing love over fear. It can be a mantra. We can just continually say the mantra throughout the day. I choose love. I choose love. I choose love. I practice neither believing nor disbelieving. I practice holding the tension between the two sides of the polarity. I am the witness. I am the pure awareness. And all of this is passing through me. Okay, I think that's a good place to end for today. The skies seem dark. Do you hear the thunder? The thunder is just the truth. It's finally speaking itself out loud. So it's our opportunity to listen closely, pay attention. And what's real is going to stay, and what's false is going to drop away. Thank you. Questions and sharing. I want to thank everybody who writes in and shares and asks questions. I love the heartfelt sharing that everybody sends. I heard from more people after the last weather report, the February 1st weather report. For whatever reason, I heard from more people than maybe ever before. There was lots of sharing. It sort of ignited something. So thank you. I read everything. I don't have a chance to reply to everything. But I invite you and I encourage you, please write in with your sharing and questions. It really, really helps me, and I do love hearing from you. So, in case you're new, the way it works is you can email anything in to me at courses@corelight.org. And it's not possible for me to answer all the questions, but I do read them all and I get to as many of them as I can. And if your question doesn't get answered by me, it will always get answered in some way, whether it's by another teacher or a book or a friend or in a meditation or whatever, or a sign or a synchronicity. The first one, I'm wondering how you are responding to the ongoing Epstein files release and implications. I'm also wondering if in your role with Corelight you will be responding to the fallout for spiritual teachers from such revelations as Deepak Chopra's friendship with Epstein and his refusal to take any responsibility. And so this is a little excerpt from a longer message, but I felt like it was important to respond to. And I didn't know about the situation. I had not dived into the whole tranche of Epstein files, but I just felt like I really, it's part of my journey as shining a light on the shadow, as you know. So I did do that. I read several articles and I read some of the direct quotes from the files, some of the emails and things. And shocking, shattering, again, disillusioning, outrage, despair, betrayal, all these feelings pass through me. I would imagine for you too, if you read anything. Um, Again, as I mentioned at the beginning of the call, it's about pedophilia, torture. I mean, just horrible, horrible things. And and so to see leaders, especially spiritual leaders, involved with people like this, it's and then not really addressing it, and not many other people addressing it either. Honestly, there's not been much out there about this. I do know that a lot of people who wrote to me are responding similarly to the way I did. Um, and this is a necessary part of the journey. It's understandable to respond with these feelings that I'm describing here with a witness. And again, that's the important thing is feel what we need to feel and with a witness. Otherwise, we're kind of, if we don't have the witness on board and we're feeling these shadowy feelings, we're just digging the groove deeper in the record. When we practice the witnessing and we feel and release, we are lightening our load. We're letting go, releasing things. They're leaving, not weighing us down. So I guess what I can say about it is that, obviously what's happening there is not okay and it's not right. And I do feel it's important to know about it and speak about it because if we ignore it and we just sort of, I don't know, let it go, let it be there without talking about it, then we're complicit. We're condoning it in a way. Uh, so it's kind of what I was saying in the square today. If we let perpetrators get away with what they're doing, then we're allowing it. like I said, we're complicit in it. Um, so there's that aspect of it. And the other thing I would be really, really, it feels important to say that I really feel like we need to be careful of is pointing fingers. Uh, this is not about blame. This is not about pointing at somebody and saying they're bad and wrong and I'm okay, because that is not an empowerment. Um, Blame is never the answer. Yes, shining a light on the shadow is critical. Um, but we're talking about self-inquiry here. This is our path, is self-inquiry. So the empowering thing, and I'm going to invite you, if you want to do some home practice around this, I'm going to invite you to reflect on some questions, some self-inquiry questions. I wrote some of them down here. Um, so if you choose to, take a look at all this, what's going on with the Epstein files, you can ask, where do you feel this in your body? Where does it hit you? And what are you feeling there? And witness that and work with that. Another thing, what deeper part of me is this revelation touching? For example, shock, grief, betrayal, helplessness, all the things we've been talking about. Get in touch. We each need to get in touch with what's happening inside of us around this, how it affects us. Another question, have I ever ignored my own intuition the way society has ignored its intuition about corruption? So instead of saying, how could they do that? Instead, we could say, what happens inside me when I look at evil? Do I project it outward or can I witness it without collapsing? Where does the hunger for control or status still live within me? How do I feed systems of exploitation unconsciously, whether through silence, convenience, getting distracted, so forth? What does empowerment actually look like for me now? Outrage? Truthfulness? We need to feel into what that is for us. What truth about myself or my life do I still hide the way the elites hid theirs? How can I contribute to a world that protects innocence, starting in my immediate environment? In other words, looking at what can I do in my immediate environment to make a difference, to help protect and show my love, to put my love into action. What can I do? Where can I serve? I think we're done for today. I said a while ago we were going to have a new format where, usually the calls are 2 hours. And I thought I wanted to see what would happen if I shortened it to an hour and a half. And I decided in the end that we would just let spirit dictate the time. And so for today, we're at an hour and a half. And so we're going to end it here. So I want to thank you. I'm so grateful to everybody who is showing up, whether you're in real time or listening, watching this in the future. Thank you for being together with me in the field of love. And what an extraordinary time we're in. Um, I want to close with an ending prayer and meditation. We're going to do our offering up of the square and the triangles. So I invite you to stay with me for that. It's a powerful part of the healing. We never just do a square or a polarity list or triangles without the offering because it's really the most important part is to let it go. So let it go and watch it leave. Okay, so I invite you to close your eyes, take a few long, slow, deep breaths, and just drop into your core, into your center, and let go. Breathing in the light, breathing out the shadow, breathing in love and peace, breathing out any tension or stress that got stirred up during the call. We call on Great Spirit, Divine Mother, Father God, Self that we all are, all of our highest guides and teachers who surround us in the highest love and light. And we're making an offering right now. We're giving back the square that we did, the imbalances on the rule of law versus the law of the jungle. We let it all go. The desires and fears of each side, we're letting it all go. We've made the unconscious conscious, and that's all the work we can do is detailing out the aspects of ego. And now we have to let go, and we call in grace. We invite in divine grace, the unfathomable intelligence of the divine, to come in and create a healing for us, rewire us. We invite in the ascended balance states of returning to the laws of nature, inviting in the new paradigm of the heart. We're inviting in love, peace, gratitude. There's no need for laws when we live in alignment with divine law. So we call in that alignment with divine law, the new paradigm of the heart, paradigm of love, forgiveness, deep inner peace. And before we close for the day, let's also send a blessing out. Another blessing, as we did at the beginning of the call. Let's send a blessing out. I'm going to read CORELIGHT'S prayer for peace. From the place of connectedness in us all, our hearts unite for peace in the world. May all of my thoughts, words, and deeds make me an instrument of peace in the world. May all people and all leaders find solutions to benefit everyone equally. May the spirit of compassion and forgiveness move in and through the hearts of all people. May we all direct our actions from love for humanity and the earth. We call in blessings, protection, and courage for all who are working for universal peace, including for whistleblowers, for people in government and in positions of power. We call on the power of grace, and we give thanks, knowing that this is so. We give thanks, knowing that this is so. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Peace, shalom, salam, alalaho. Isn't it wonderful? Okay, everybody. Thank you once again for joining me. Deeply, deeply grateful for your presence, and I send you all my love, and I look forward to seeing you on the next Spiritual Weather Report. Meanwhile, stay on your surfboards, hold your heart open. I love you. Bye for now.